And then you may say, of course, but Donald Trump is a madman. He would attack anyone just for the sake of it. Well, Joe Biden comes in as the anti-Trump president of the United States. And what does he do with the Cold War that Trump had started? Does he claw back? Does he retreat from it? No, he turbocharges it. He comes out with a declaration in the fall of 2021, essentially sending the message to China, we are going to stop you from becoming an advanced economy by banning all sales of advanced microchips, which is essentially, it's like in 1800, banning steam engines, the export of steam engines to Germany. This is like saying, we are declaring economic warfare against you. And why does he do that? The argument that it's because of Taiwan is rubbish. Nothing has changed about Taiwan. The one China policy had always been accepted by the West since Nixon went to Beijing. So it's not that. It's not that China is building up its army or its navy. I will believe that only when I see Chinese destroyers and frigates outside Los Angeles. For the time being, all I see is American warships outside Shanghai. So none of that makes sense. What makes sense is that the Chinese payment systems, which brings together Chinese finance and Chinese cloud capital in a most effective way, just visit WeChat and you will see what I mean, is a mortal danger for the monopoly of the dollar. The war in Ukraine did something quite interesting. This superhighway of all singing, all dancing, digital payments, Chinese payments, the WeChat and the digital currency of the Central Bank of China, that was already there. But it's like building a superhighway, you know, imagine 5 lanes on each side and a big, spanking new, beautiful highway with no cars on it. Because if you were a capitalist, even if you were a Chinese capitalist, you still wanted to use the dollar. Because if you produce aluminum in Shenzhen, you want to sell most of it to the Americans. So you want to sell it for dollars. And then you take the dollars and you take it to Wall Street and you buy American bonds and you buy real estate in Miami and so on. So the Chinese capitalists didn't even want to use this superhighway of payments. But the moment the United States, together with the European Union, confiscated $450 billion worth of Russian money, I'm not judging this. I'm not saying they should have done it or not have done it. I'm simply saying they did it. So imagine you are a Saudi Arabian sheikh, or the emir of some emirate, or some Indonesian bigwig, or Malaysian. There you are.
I'm imagining.
You can imagine, right? And you think, oh my God, they confiscated 450 billion smackers because they didn't like their policies. Well, they may not like me tomorrow because I'm not the best guy in the world. They know that, right? Well, maybe I should hedge my bets, not put all my money in the dollar system. I will put most of my money in the dollar system, but I will put some in the Chinese superhighway. The Americans see that. The smart people in Washington see this as a serious threat. Because if they lose the monopoly of the dollar system, of the payment system internationally, that's it. The United States is finished. They're deeply in the red. They have a huge budget deficit and a huge trade deficit, which they manage to turn into a strength only as long as the Chinese do not touch their monopoly. Chinese big tech does.
I'm going to pause you there and I'm going to offer you guys a choice. We can have basically 5 to 10 minutes of you guys asking Yanis awkward questions, or I could ask him the most awkward question I have here written down on my piece of paper.
So you're going to have a plebiscite.
So you guys decide. Audience Q&A, awkward question on piece of paper. Audience questions. All right, so I'm going to ask everyone. Oh, my question. All right.
Or a combination.
Here goes. Well, look, it depends on how you answer it.
I will answer them quickly.
Okay, all right, so we'll do this.
Epigrammatically.
We'll do this very last awkward question. So, in the book, what you're arguing is that what we have is worse than capitalism, right? It's not capitalism anymore, it's worse than capitalism. You've outlined a plausible path to a hot war between America and China. You write about all the ways in which not just we as workers are disempowered, but what we used to think of as the capitalist classes the ownership classes are disempowered in relation to these, you know,
The
big tech,
hyper-capitalists,
these
or
hyper-capitalists.
the cloudalists,
right?
as I call them.
These
Yeah.
cloud capitalists. And then it seems to me that in your political life, what you say is, well, vote for a left-wing party. Is there not a mismatch here between the arena of political action that you're saying we should contest, whether that's workplace organizing or it's contesting elections, and the size of the wealth and power grab that's happening under our eyes?
Absolutely. If I said that, then I would have been completely ludicrous. I'm not diminishing the importance of participating in elections and voting strategically and voting and creating political parties. Or, you know, I was with my friend Jeremy Corbyn the other day, Islington North, Jeremy Corbyn, and, you know, we demand participation in elections, but that's not enough. You know, bourgeois democracy is not going to change anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a civic
If it could,
ritual.
it would have been banned, as we know from Greece, right? So, if you, in the last chapter and in my previous book, I make it clear, we need a tech revolution. We need to use these applications in order to organize a resistance against the power of these cloudalists. So, for instance, let me give you an example, right? We need to bring down the water companies in this country, because neither Starmer nor Sunak will do it. How do you do it? Here's an example of what we could do. We could organize a payment strike, which is strategically timed. So we can find out, for instance, through good comrades that we may have in the financial sector.
What a
The
sentence
Thames
that
Water
was, by the way.
Authority.
Comrades we may have in the financial sector.
We
Don't
do.
let that wash over you.
There are people, there are sleepers in there, simply because, you know, they need a job. It's,
They've been napping
what can
a
they
long
do?
time.
I meet them. They come and whisper in my ear, you know, I hate this job, but, you know, what can I do? I need to make some money. And what is the alternative? Poverty. How is my poverty going to help the cause? And I say to them, yeah, go on. But, you know, there are people in there. And especially after 2008, there were many disenchanted people. People who worked in Lehman Brothers. You know, I had people from Lehman Brothers come and help me fight the IMF, because they wanted somehow to redeem themselves as a result of 20 years of destroying the world through Lehman Brothers, you know, operations. Anyway, and if there aren't any sleepers in there, we need to study the structure of the CDOs. These are the financial derivatives in which the Thames Water Authority has implanted, you know, several of its own bonds, and find out when they are expiring, when they are vulnerable, and stage, when they are vulnerable, a payment strike. For instance, let's say that all the people who have to pay their bills to the Thames Water Authority in April, we don't pay in April. We delay it. And if you're fined, then we have a crowdsourcing, international crowdsourcing campaign to help people who are in need pay their fines to the Thames Water Authority. You know, that will make it bankrupt if we target it properly. So you need to combine knowledge about finances, knowledge about CDOs and derivatives with collective action, which is smart, not simply going out on the streets, because we are very good at mobilizing support for good causes. We are not very good at converting that energy into power, into votes, into the power to bring down the conglomerates that destroy our environment, that destroy our rivers, to use that example. So if I simply said vote for us, I would be just ridiculous. We need to organize in the way that we've been doing since the 19th century. I mean, what have the trade unions movement been doing? It's been targeting the power of the capitalists, of the ones who own the capital goods that furnish them with exorbitant authority.